All right, let's jump right in. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are stepping straight into the brilliant mind of Chef Hiro over at Ichimura in Florida. We're going to break down exactly how a master, someone who is entirely dedicated to authentic Japanese cuisine, actually operates. But more importantly, we're looking at what happens when a master like that decides to just completely break his own rules. If you're the kind of person who loves geeking out over the precise techniques behind truly incredible food, well, you're absolutely in the right place.
So, here's a question for you. Can strict, traditional Japanese techniques actually transform American barbecue? It's kind of crazy to think about, right? Usually when we think of traditional Japanese cooking, we picture these super rigid, centuries-old rules that you just do not break. But today, we're going to see what happens when a chef who has absolute mastery over those rules decides to completely shatter them. He's combining elite Japanese technique with massive, bold, in-your-face American and Miami flavor profiles. It's wild.
But hey, before you can go breaking the rules, you really have to appreciate the everyday basics. And when you're talking about Japanese food, you literally cannot ignore the legendary convenience stores. They're a staple. So, we've got a really fun contrast here. Chef Hiro, he absolutely swears by Family Mart, specifically for their rice bowls. Now on the flip side, our source host for this journey, Guga, firmly believes 7-Eleven is the top tier, entirely because of their iconic egg sandos. So yeah, they might butt heads on the best convenience store, but they both have this deep, deep respect for simple, accessible, everyday foods. And honestly, that respect is exactly where Chef Hiro's genius begins.
Which brings us to our first section, mastering the basics, perfecting those convenience store classics.
First up is an absolute staple, karaage chicken. Let's break down Chef Hiro's exact method, because it's fascinating. He doesn't just hack up a chicken breast at random. No, he deliberately cuts the meat into small, uniform pieces so it fries faster and gets maximum crispiness. And guys, here's the real secret. He specifically keeps the fat attached. He doesn't trim it off. That fat equals flavor and it equals texture. From there, it goes into this highly calculated marinade. We're talking salt, black pepper, garlic, sake, and soy sauce. He leaves it for 30 minutes and then hits it with a very light egg coating, just enough to bind it.
So what's the result? Well, after a quick 5-minute fry, and I mean going straight from the coating right into the hot oil with zero resting time, you get what's best described as KFC on steroids. Literally, that's the quote. The main takeaway here is that this crust is so incredibly perfect, so crispy on the outside and juicy on the inside, that Chef Hiro insists you eat it original style. No sweet soy sauce, no spicy mayo. You have to experience that pure, unadulterated frying technique first.
Now this actually builds right into our next challenge. How on earth do you keep chicken breasts from drying out in ramen? Seriously, it's one of the most common cooking problems we all face. Chicken breast is notoriously lean, right? It usually just turns to absolute rubber the second you simmer it in hot broth. But Chef Hiro, he has this highly specific, almost scientific approach to tenderizing that completely solves the issue. Okay, so here is the exact step-by-step of how he pulls this off. First, he aggressively punctures the chicken breast all over with a fork. He isn't just tenderizing here, he's literally creating physical pathways for the marinade to travel through. Second, he hits it with a generous amount of salt and sugar. Finally, he wraps it up and lets it rest in the cooler for 30 minutes. What this does is act as a rapid dry brine. That salt and sugar penetrate deep down into those fork holes, tenderizing the meat fibers while simultaneously drawing out the excess moisture. It totally concentrates the flavor. Once that chicken is brined, it goes into an absolute umami bomb of a shoyu ramen simmer sauce. But remember, technique is everything with this guy. Chef Hiro doesn't just boil the chicken. Oh no. He gives that brine breast a very quick, screaming hot pan sear. We're talking just seconds on each side, just to lock in the shape so it doesn't shrink up on him. Then he drops the heat and slowly simmers it in a super precise mix. 1 spoon each of garlic, ginger, and oyster sauce, plus sake, mirin, soy sauce, sugar, onion, and boiling water. He lets that go for about 30 to 40 minutes. The end result is just the softest, most flavorful chicken you can even imagine, floating right there in a perfect ramen broth.
Moving on to our next section, breaking the rules, featuring the Peking Picanha. Now, to really grasp why this next dish is so mind-blowing, we've got to establish a quick baseline with traditional Peking duck. Making authentic Peking duck is an incredibly laborious process. I mean, you stuff the bird with aromatics, you'll blanch it in boiling water, you literally hang it up to dry for several days, meticulously roast it for that crazy crispy skin, and then, finally, you deep fry it. It is a massive 3 to 4 day commitment just to get this one dish on the table.
So, keeping that in mind, the sheer audacity of what Chef Hiro does next is just incredible.
He takes that sacred 4-day intensive poultry process, completely throws the duck out the window, and replaces it with a prime-grade 20-day aged American Wagyu Picanha, a spectacular cut of beef from Riverbank Ranch. I mean, he's literally adapting a legendary Chinese-Japanese specialty, but using a prized cut of American barbecue beef. It's totally crazy. But the real magic is in how he preps it. First, he scores that beautiful, thick cap of Wagyu fat. Then, he rubs it with this sweet, aromatic marinade made of finely chopped celery, ginger, 5-spice, and his own special in-house hoisin sauce. Now, because there's so much sugar in that marinade, it caramelizes insanely fast in a hot oven. But guys, here is the absolute genius finishing move. He takes this caramelized medium-rare beef and deep fries the entire thing in actual duck fat. Yep. It perfectly bridges the gap between that traditional duck flavor and the super rich modern American beef.
All right, Section 3, Miami meets Japan. We're talking about the Calle Ocho Sushi Roll.
Think about your standard traditional Japanese sushi roll for a second. You know, salmon, ikra, maybe some avocado, a little spicy mayo. Got it? Okay, now compare that to Chef Hiro's Calle Ocho Roll. He is rolling skirt steak, literal black beans, and sweet fried plantains inside sushi rice, and then topping the whole thing with garlic chimichurri sauce. I mean, it's a complete cultural shock. There is absolutely nothing traditional about stuffing black beans into a sushi roll, but the flamer architecture he builds here is just stunning.
But here's the thing. To make a crazy idea like this actually work, the underlying technique has to be totally flawless. So, Chef Hiro cooks the skirt steak fat side down first to really render out that delicious flavor, making sure to keep the inside a perfect medium rare. But it's the third step that is absolutely vital. He rests the cooked steak on a paper towel to purposely drain away the juices. Now, why would he do that? Because while a juicy steak is fantastic on a dinner plate, inside a sushi roll, all that excess juice will completely destroy the structural integrity of the rice. It'll just fall apart. It's one of those rare instances in cooking where too much juice is actually a bad thing, and his technical foresight totally saves the dish.
Okay, let's ground ourselves back in some authentic technique for a second, after that wild ride. Let's talk about tataki. By definition, tataki is a traditional Japanese method where meat or fish is seared very briefly over a super hot pan or flame, left completely raw on the inside, and then served razor thin. For his beef tataki, Chef Hiro uses a New York strip. But unlike the picanha or the skirt steak, where he really cherishes the fat, for tataki he strictly trims away all the fat, the silver skin, the connective tissue, all of it. Since the beef is essentially eaten raw with ponzu sauce, any unrendered fat would be super chewy and just unpleasant. It's a textbook example of adjusting your technique to fit the exact eating experience you want to deliver.
And finally, Section 4, the ultimate tasting feast. It's tradition versus fusion.
Welcome to Japan and Florida. Honestly, that quote perfectly sums up this entire tasting table. It was a massive feast. On the traditional side of things, you had this hot stone Wagyu that literally melted in your mouth the second it touched your tongue, giving you this burst of pure, rich fatness. And to balance that out, he served a wildly different traditional dish, Korean-style raw octopus. Unlike the melting beef, the raw octopus is shockingly firm and crunchy, and it's tossed in the sauce that's sweet, spicy, and just packed with bright acidity. It's a total sensory roller coaster.
But what about when it came down to scoring those fusion dishes? Well, get this. The Calle Ocho Roll. Yeah, the crazy one with the black beans and plantains scored an 11 out of 10. The combination is just pure magic. You get the savory, salty goodness of the rendered skirt stick, the garlic punch from the chimichurri on top, and the thing that ties the whole bite together, the sweet, crispy, fried plantain buried right there inside the rice. It's living proof that when you execute with master technique, rule-breaking fusion can be an absolute triumph.
Yet even with that mind-blowing Calle Ocho roll on the table, the ultimate, unexpected overall winner of the day was the crispy, spicy tuna with salmon caviar. For this one, Chef Hiro lightly breads and fries the sushi rice so it's warm and crunchy, then he mounds it high with rich, spicy tuna and tops it off with bursting spheres of fresh salmon caviar. The contrast here is ridiculous. You've got the crispy, warm rice, the smooth, spicy tuna, and then that cold, salty, liquid pop of the caviar. It was the undisputed champion of the tasting. It just perfectly blends modern texture with top-tier traditional ingredients.
And that brings us to the end of our journey today. So here's what I want you to think about. If culinary rules are actually meant to be broken, what unexpected flavor combination are you going to try next? Chef Hiro really showed us that true mastery isn't just about perfectly executing the classics. Though, let's be real, you definitely have to know how to do that first. True mastery is having the confidence to use those traditional techniques as a foundation to build something completely new. Whether that means deep frying Wagyu in duck fat or throwing sweet plantains into your sushi. I challenge you to take this tradition-bending philosophy into your own kitchen this week. See what you come up with. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.